police in Massachusetts made a discovery that would never leave their minds. Inside many trash bins spread across the state, they found blood-covered bags with a woman's green boots still wet with blood, a hacksaw covered in human skin and tissue, a hatchet with flesh stuck to its blade, cutting tools dripping with DNA, towels soaked in so much blood they were stiff and frozen in the winter cold. But the most scary discovery? A white protective suit, the kind used by people who clean crime scenes, covered completely in blood splatter. Someone had worn this suit while doing something so horrible that they needed full body protection from the blood spray. The DNA on everything belonged to one person. 39-year-old Ana Walshe, a mother of 3 young boys who had been missing for 5 days. But here's what makes this story truly terrifying. The person who bought that hacksaw, who bought that hatchet, who wore that blood-covered suit, was not a stranger, not a serial killer, not some monster hiding in the shadows. It was the man Ana trusted most in the world, the man who slept beside her every night, the father of her 3 children, the person who promised to love and protect her until death. Her own husband had turned their family home into a place of horror. In the basement of their expensive Massachusetts home, police found pools of blood that had soaked into the concrete floor. Blood splashed on the walls. A knife so damaged from cutting that its blade was bent and broken. The entire basement had been cleaned with strong chemicals, but you can't completely hide blood. It tells its story even when someone tries hard to hide it. Security cameras caught this man going to hardware stores at 4:55 in the morning, just hours after his wife was last seen alive. He bought buckets, saws, protective suits, and enough hydrogen peroxide to clean up a murder. He visited store after store, paying with cash, wearing a mask, trying to hide his face. Then he drove to apartment buildings across the state, looking for trash bins far from his home. Surveillance cameras show him struggling with heavy bags, throwing them into trash bins, looking over his shoulder to see if anyone was watching. For 3 whole days, while his wife's blood was drying on his basement floor, he acted completely normal. He fed his children breakfast. He smiled. He went about his daily life. When police finally came to his door asking about his missing wife, he calmly told them she had left for a work trip. But she never left for any trip. She never left that house alive. What could make a man kill the mother of his children? What darkness lived inside him that allowed him to cut apart the woman he once promised to love forever? Ana was born in 1983 in Belgrade, Serbia, during a time when her country was fighting wars and facing hard times. She grew up in a simple home, but Ana had big dreams that refused to die. As a young woman, Ana studied at the University of Belgrade. She was smart, hard-working, and wanted to build a better life. In 2005, at age 22, she packed her bags and moved to the United States, leaving behind her mother and everything she knew. Her start in America was humble. Ana took a job cleaning rooms at a small hotel in Virginia. She cleaned hotel rooms, made beds, and worked long hours for little pay. But she never complained. Over the next few years, Ana worked her way up through the hotel business. By 2008, she had become a manager at the luxury Wheatley Hotel in the Berkshires. It was at this hotel where Ana met Brian Walshe. Brian Walshe seemed like a dream come true. He was handsome, charming, and appeared to be very rich. He traveled the world, loved fine art and wine, and spent money on luxury items. He drove nice cars, wore expensive clothes, and knew powerful people in Boston's high society. For Ana, who had worked so hard to climb out of poverty, Brian was everything she had been working for. Friends said Ana described their meeting as love at first sight. She told people that Brian was her best friend. They married in 2008 and soon had 3 sons. Ana continued working hard, moving from one prestigious hotel to another. By 2022, Ana had reached the top of her career. She was hired as a regional general manager at Tishman Speyer, a major real estate company in Washington, D.C. It was a dream job with a salary of over $300,000 per year. But behind the perfect photos on social media, something dark was growing. While Ana's career was rising, Brian's life was falling apart. The rich businessman he pretended to be was actually a fraud. In 2021, federal police charged Brian Walshe with running a big art scam. Years earlier, Brian had talked a friend in South Korea into letting him sell 2 real paintings by the famous artist Andy Warhol. But instead of selling the real paintings, Brian kept them and sold fake copies to buyers. He sold the fake paintings to a collector for $80,000. When the buyer looked at them closely, he discovered they were worthless copies. Brian had tricked many people, making tens of thousands of dollars from lies. By 2022, Brian was facing serious federal charges. He was looking at years in prison and huge fines. He had no real income. The fancy lifestyle he had shown to Ana was built on stolen money and lies. Ana was heartbroken. She had married a man she thought was successful, only to find out he was a criminal facing prison time. In early 2022, Ana moved to Washington, D.C. for her new job. The distance, mixed with Brian's legal troubles, created a breaking point. In March 2022, Ana bought a townhouse in Washington, D.C., with help from a real estate broker named William Fasto. Soon, their work relationship became romantic. For the first time in years, Ana felt happy and free. She began making plans to move her 3 sons to D.C. permanently, away from Brian. She prepared her new home for the children, buying clothes and toys. She told friends she was planning to leave Brian. But Brian was watching. He was checking Ana's Instagram, seeing who she was spending time with. In December 2022, he hired a private detective to follow Ana in Washington, D.C. He used his son's iPad to search for information about divorce. Brian was realizing that he was about to lose everything: his wife, his children, his comfortable life. And there was something else that made the situation even more dangerous. In May 2021, Ana had bought 2 life insurance policies worth a total of $2.7 million. The only person who would get this money if she died was Brian Walshe. Ana had received the highest possible health rating. She was young, healthy, and had no medical problems. If she died, Brian would get a fortune, more than enough to pay his legal debts and fines. Interestingly, Brian had tried to buy life insurance for himself, but was rejected because of his criminal case. The insurance company wouldn't insure a convicted criminal, so only Ana had life insurance, and only Brian would benefit from her death. On December 31st, 2022, Ana returned to Massachusetts to spend New Year's Eve with Brian and their children. A friend named Jem Mutlu joined them for dinner at their home. They celebrated together, drank champagne, and welcomed the new year. Around 1 a.m. on January 1st, the friend left. Ana and Brian were alone with their sleeping children. What happened in those next hours remains a mystery that would shock a nation. On the morning of January 1st, 2023, Brian told the babysitter that Ana had left early, around 6 a.m., for an emergency work trip to Washington, D.C. But security cameras and phone records tell a completely different story. At 4:55 a.m., Brian's phone showed he was at a Home Depot store in Rockland, Massachusetts. He he went inside alone and spent $450 cash on disturbing items. A protective suit, tarps, buckets, mops, tape, towels, and cleaning supplies. Later that morning, he went to a Lowe's store and bought even more items. 5 large buckets, a hacksaw, a hatchet, protective goggles, and large bottles of hydrogen peroxide. Throughout January 1st and 2nd, Brian made repeated trips to different stores, buying more cleaning supplies and new rugs. He went to apartment buildings with large trash bins and was caught on security cameras throwing away heavy bags. Most damning of all, police discovered horrifying Google searches on devices in the Walshe home. January 1st at 4:55 a.m. How long before a body starts to smell? January 2nd at 5:06 a.m. Cleaning up blood without leaving a trace. How to remove a SIM card from an iPhone. How to dispose of a body. What happens when you put body parts in ammonia? Best way to dispose of body parts after murder. Can you be charged with murder without a body? Dismemberment and best ways to dispose of a body. These weren't the searches of someone whose wife had died naturally. These were the searches of someone desperately trying to hide a murder. When police searched the Walshe home on January 5th and 6th, they found blood in the basement. They found a damaged, bloody knife. They discovered that new rugs had been installed, replacing old ones that had mysteriously disappeared. In trash bins near Brian's mother's home and at apartment buildings he had visited, police recovered dozens of bags of evidence. Inside were Anna's green hunter boots, the same ones she had been wearing on New Year's Eve, her COVID-19 vaccination card, her Prada purse, jewelry, and a watch she had worn at the party. They also found a hacksaw with human blood on it, a hatchet, cutting shears, blood-stained towels, rags, and clothing, a protective suit covered in blood, all of it. DNA testing confirmed that the blood belonged to Ana Walshe. Her DNA was on the tools, the clothes, the protective suit, and everything in the trash bags. Brian's DNA was also found mixed with hers on several items, but Anna's body was never found. Many of the trash bags Brian had thrown away had been sent to an incinerator that burns at temperatures between 1,800 and 2,000 degrees. At those temperatures, even bones turn to ash. Ana Walshe had been completely erased from existence. On January 8, 2023, police arrested Brian Walshe for misleading investigators. 10 days later, prosecutors brought murder charges, first-degree murder, and improper disposal of a human body. Brian pleaded not guilty. He was held without bail. His 3 young sons were placed in state custody. For nearly 3 years, the case crawled through the courts. Brian's federal art fraud case was finished in February 2024, when a judge sentenced him to 37 months in prison and ordered him to pay $475,000. There were complications. The lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor, was later fired from the state police for unprofessional behavior in another case. Brian's defense lawyers tried to use this to create doubt. Then in September 2024, Brian was attacked and stabbed by another prisoner in jail. Finally, in November 2025, as the murder trial was about to begin, Brian made a stunning decision. On November 18, 2025, Brian Walshe changed his plea on 2 charges. He pleaded guilty to misleading police and to improperly disposing of Anna's body. In court documents, Brian admitted that he disposed of and did convey the body of Ana Walshe after her death, and that he intentionally made false statements to police. However, Brian continued to plead not guilty to first-degree murder. He admitted to cutting up his wife's body and throwing it in trash bins, but claimed he did not kill her. On December 1st, 2025, the murder trial officially began at Norfolk Superior Court in Dedham, Massachusetts. If convicted of first-degree murder, Brian Walshe faces life in prison without the possibility of release. In his opening statement, Brian's defense lawyer, Larry Tipton, presented a theory that shocked the courtroom. He claimed that Ana Walshe died from sudden, unexplained death syndrome while lying in bed after the New Year's Eve party. According to the defense, Brian woke up on the morning of January 1st and found Ana dead in their bed for no clear reason. Rather than call 911, Brian panicked and made the bad decision to cut up his wife's body and throw it away. The defense argued that Brian was scared of being blamed for Ana's death, especially since he was already facing criminal charges. They suggested the insurance company's medical check might have missed a hidden health problem. Prosecutors tell a very different story. They argue that Brian Walshe committed a planned, cold-blooded murder driven by money and rage. Assistant District Attorney Gregory Connor showed jurors the timeline of Google searches, store purchases, and trash bin visits. He presented DNA evidence linking Ana's blood to the tools. He revealed Brian's money problems and the massive $2.7 million insurance payout he stood to gain. Most powerful was the testimony of Ana's boyfriend, William Fastow. He confirmed that Ana was planning to leave Brian and start a new life in Washington, D.C. with her children. Prosecutors argued that Brian had discovered the affair and knew Ana was about to take his children and leave him with nothing. Facing prison time, money ruin, and the complete loss of his family, Brian decided to kill his wife and cash in on her life insurance. They pointed out that Brian waited 3 full days before reporting Ana missing. During those 3 days, he had been frantically cleaning, buying supplies, and throwing away evidence. A DNA analyst testified about finding blood in Brian and Ana's family car, including on the driver's seat and trunk. At least 5 different areas tested positive for blood. Mark Selvaggi from New York Life Insurance testified about the $2.7 million Brian stood to collect. He confirmed that Brian had tried and failed to get his own life insurance because of his criminal record, while Ana had received the highest possible health rating. Most chilling was the voicemail Brian had left for William Fastow on January 4th, pretending to search for Ana, asking if he had heard from her. Brian was calling his wife's lover, pretending to be worried, knowing full well that Ana was dead and cut up in trash bins across Massachusetts. The jury faces a simple question. Is it believable that a perfectly healthy 39-year-old woman suddenly died in her sleep, and her husband's response was to buy saws and cleaning supplies, cut up her body, spend days hiding the evidence, and wait 3 days before reporting her missing? Or is the truth what it appears to be? That Brian Walshe, facing money ruin and the loss of everything he had, murdered his wife in a desperate act of rage and greed. Brian has admitted under oath that he cut up his wife and threw her remains in trash bins. His only defense is that she was already dead when he did it. Lost in all the legal details are 3 young boys who will never see their mother again. They were just 2, 4, and 6 years old when Ana disappeared. They are now 5, 7, and 9. Those children lost their mother on New Year's Day 2023. If their father is convicted, they will lose him too. Ana's mother in Serbia has been following every detail from across the ocean. In the days after her daughter disappeared, she told reporters that Ana had begged her to come visit in late December. Ana had clearly sensed something was wrong. The entire nation of Serbia has watched this case. Ana represented hope, proof that hard work could overcome any obstacle. She had escaped poverty, learned new languages, and built a successful career in America. But all of Ana's success couldn't protect her from the evil that lived in her own home. As of December 2025, the trial continues. The jury must hear all the evidence and make their decision. If convicted, Brian Walshe will never leave prison. But regardless of the verdict, Ana Walshe is gone forever. Her body was never recovered. Her family will never have a place to visit, a grave to mourn at. She simply vanished, erased by someone who promised to love and protect her. This case reminds us that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like a charming husband. Sometimes it wears a nice suit and lives in a beautiful house. Sometimes it hides behind a smile and a lie. Ana Walshe came to America with nothing but dreams. She worked her way from cleaning hotel rooms to managing million-dollar real estate deals. She deserved so much better than the fate she received. The world now waits to see if justice will finally be served. For Ana, for her children, for her mother grieving across the ocean, for every person who ever trusted someone who turned out to be a lie. This tragic story reminds us that we can never truly know what darkness might hide behind closed doors. If this story moved you, please share it to spread awareness about the warning signs of danger in relationships. Subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Stay alert, stay aware, because evil can strike from where we least expect it.